His own father raised him like livestock just to harvest his hidden magic and leave him to die in the freezing snow. Mocked as a powerless outcast in a family of legendary swordsmen, he endured years of brutal abuse just to earn a scrap of approval. But his only reward was a blade through the chest and the cruel laughter of his own brothers. But what looks like a tragic end is actually the ultimate beginning. Reborn into the past with the very god-tier power they murdered him for, he is about to make his treacherous family regret the day he was born. We open on an absolute graveyard. Bodies are piled high under a blood-red sky, and standing right in the middle of all the carnage is one man who looks like he just walked through hell. The silence is finally broken when someone calls out the name Ash. We see the back of a blonde warrior, and he's looking down at his son. This is Rodrik, and he is definitely not happy to see his kid. He demands to know why Aster is standing here when he was supposed to be leading the Eastern Subjugation Force. Aster is in rough shape, bleeding from his face and leaning on his sword just to stay upright, and his answer is cold and direct. He's here to kill him. Rodrik doesn't even flinch. He just stares back with those glowing red eyes. The words hang in the air like a death sentence. Aster isn't backing down, even if he's barely holding on. He stares his father down in the freezing wind and asks if that's right. And that look in his eyes is pure, unadulterated rage. He's been pushed to his absolute limit, and now he's ready to tear everything down. Rodrik just looks disgusted by the whole thing. He calls Aster his foolish son and tells him that being a sacrificial tool is the only purpose a wingless person like him has. And here's our protagonist, Aster A. Elmheim. He looks like a total badass, but he has clearly got a lot of trauma to work through. This is the crest of the House of Elmheim. It looks epic, but for Aster, it's basically been a symbol of nothing but misery. The Elmheims are known as the greatest martial house on the continent, and their head is none other than Lord Rodrik. This guy radiates final boss energy. He's the only person in the entire kingdom who has the 7 wings, which apparently makes him a god among men. We see him looking down at a much younger, helpless Aster. But Aster didn't just give up, he worked himself to the bone. He spent his youth training until he bled, doing every single thing his father demanded just to earn a scrap of approval. But no matter how hard he tried, he always ended up face down in the dirt with a broken wooden sword. The gap between them was just too wide. To make matters worse, his own siblings were total jerks. They'd stand over him and mock him, telling him not to get cocky just because he's standing there, calling him wingless. The poor guy felt like he had nothing to offer. In his mind, he had no wings to repay his father's expectations. In this world, magic power is measured by wings, and Rodrik is the pinnacle of that power. As the only one in the house unable to wield magic, Aster was treated like trash. The nickname Wingless wasn't just a jab, it was a constant reminder from his siblings that he was an outcast in his own family. Despite the bullying, Aster never stopped. Rain, snow, it didn't matter, he just kept swinging that sword and pushing his body to the breaking point. He truly believed that if he just showed enough devotion, one day he'd finally be rewarded for all his suffering. Fast forward to the present mission in the snow. Aster is leading his men, but something feels off. He catches a glimpse of something in the trees. He's got those sharp instincts, and he realizes they aren't alone. Suddenly, everything goes sideways. Arrows start flying and soldiers are screaming. It's a total ambush in the middle of a blizzard. But the real shocker is when Aster looks up and sees his own father standing there, orchestrating the whole thing. He can't believe this is the answer to all his years of loyalty. Rodrik's face is as cold as ice. He looks at Aster like he's a piece of trash and asks what kind of expectations a mere tool could possibly have. He tells Aster his role is finished and to just get lost. He's literally throwing his own son away now that he's served his purpose. Aster finally snaps. He lunges at his father with everything he's got, screaming his father's name as he swings his blade. Big mistake. Rodrik is on another level, and blood sprays everywhere as Aster realizes he was a total fool for ever believing in this man. He falls through the air, defeated and broken. He's calling himself a pathetic idiot for wasting his life seeking love from a monster. Rodrik just stands there with a smug, condescending look. He's actually enjoying watching his son fall to his death. Aster is suddenly hit by glowing red magic chains that bind his arms and neck. He can't even move as they drag him down. It's a brutal beatdown. The siblings join in, using their magic to slam him into the frozen ground over and over again. Aster screams out in pure agony and frustration. The physical pain is bad, but the betrayal is clearly hurting way more. One of his brothers walks up and kicks him right in the head while he's chained up. He tells him that a wingless one will always be a loser. The siblings stand over him, mocking him for crawling on the ground like the insect they think he is. These guys are the absolute worst. Bloodied and face down in the snow, Aster lets out a heartbreaking cry. He screams that if they were just going to throw him away, then why did they ever pick him up in the first place? Rodrik squats down next to him and tells him not to flatter himself. He drops the bombshell that he never actually had any use for Aster as a son. He grabs Aster by the hair, forcing him to look up. Aster's eyes are glowing yellow with rage, but he's completely powerless. Rodrik reveals the dark truth. He only wanted the power of the 7 wings that was supposedly dwelling deep inside Aster. Aster is stunned. He had no idea he was carrying that kind of power this whole time. Rodrik keeps twisting the knife, saying that Aster's mother was quite useful for his goals. This guy is a literal demon. He basically admits Aster was just a breeding experiment. He walks away, leaving his son to die in the snow now that he's extracted what he needed. Aster reaches out a trembling, bloody hand, desperately asking what he's talking about. He's not ready to let this go. With one last burst of strength, he tries to lunge forward, screaming for Rodrik to answer him, but his body is failing him fast. His hand falls limp into the freezing snow. Everything is turning white, and all he can feel is the cold. The light is fading from his eyes. He realizes that this is it. This is where his miserable life ends. As the blizzard swallows him up, his final thought is a tragic one. He wonders what he was even living for all this time. We see a distant church tower through the swirling snow. It looks like the end of the road for Aster Elmheim. But wait, what's this? Aster opens his eyes and sees the sky again. He feels a faint warmth and wonders if this is actually the afterlife. He tries to move and notices his vision is different. He's surrounded by snow, but everything looks huge. He looks totally shocked as he realizes this isn't heaven or hell. This is reality. He's somehow still alive. He's lying flat on his back in a thick blanket of snow, staring up at the blizzard. He's completely lost and confused. He tries to lift his arm and notices something terrifying. His arm is tiny. He wonders about this small body. He stares at his own chubby little hand in disbelief. He can't wrap his head around it, asking if it's really his. The truth finally hits him. He's been shrunk down to the size of a baby. He checks himself over and confirms the impossible. He's currently in an infant's body. Talk about a major plot twist. He looks over and sees a woman lying dead in the snow next to him. He's horrified, wondering who she was and what happened to her. His golden eyes widen as he hears something in the distance. The memories are starting to click into place. We see soldiers on horseback charging through the storm. They're shouting orders to find that woman no matter what. They're looking for a baby she supposedly abducted. They're doing it for Lord Rodrik's sake, which sends a chill down Aster's spine. Aster is frozen with fear. He hears that name, Rodrik, and realizes these are his father's men from years ago. A vision of the terrifying adult Rodrik flashes in his mind as he looks at his tiny baby hands. He can't believe he's back in this nightmare. The realization finally sinks in. He's returned to the past. He's been given a second chance at the very beginning of his life. He sees the glowing lights of the search party closing in. He knows he has to move, or it's all over before it even starts. He tells himself this is ridiculous, and he'll figure it out later. Right now, there's only one goal: survival. He knows if he stays there, he'll end up back in the Duke's hands, and he'd rather die than let that happen again. This tiny baby starts desperately crawling through the deep snow. It's an insane sight, seeing an infant with the will of a hardened warrior. His internal monologue is shouting at him to get away as far as he possibly can from his so-called family. He's pushing off the ice with his little hands, his golden eyes glowing with pure determination. He is not giving up. The cold is brutal, and he's gasping for air. His tiny lungs can barely handle the freezing wind and the effort of crawling. We see a long trail in the snow behind him. He thinks about how his previous life was spent crawling for scraps of affection, but this time, it's for his own life. He stares ahead with a look that no baby should ever have. He is going to survive. He reaches out toward the memory of his father, swearing a silent vow that Rodrik will pay for everything he did. Exhaustion finally takes over. He collapses in the snow, his tiny body spent after crawling an impossible distance. Just as he's about to lose consciousness, a pair of boots appears right in front of him. Someone found him. A young girl with long silver hair spots him and calls out to her father. They're standing in the beautiful morning light. This distinguished-looking man is from the house of Hefried, a viscount. He looks absolutely stunned by what he's seeing. The viscount picks up the shivering baby and asks the obvious question, why is there a baby in a place like this? He cradles Aster gently, looking down at the child's face. He can tell this isn't just any ordinary baby. He stares into the baby's eyes, completely baffled by the situation. He just keeps repeating that it's a baby. Then he looks back at the trail and his jaw drops. He realized this tiny infant covered an insane distance all on its own. He turns around to look at the trail one more time, his eyes wide with shock. It shouldn't be physically possible for a baby to do that. He looks back down at Aster, wondering who this child is. He knows he's holding something special. Aster finally lets go and drifts off to sleep, safe in the arms of someone who actually looks concerned. The real journey starts now. Baby Aster is floating in some weird cosmic void, totally confused about where he is. There's another red-haired baby floating right there with him, and he's wondering who the heck this kid is. The red-haired baby reaches out a tiny hand toward him with a big smile. Aster thinks the kid is actually there to welcome him to the afterlife or something. Suddenly, a hand comes out of nowhere and pokes him right in his little nose. He lets out a grunt while someone tells the other person not to poke the baby's nose because it's cute. Aster wakes up to find himself surrounded by 3 little girls with different colored hair staring him down. One of them screams to her sister that the little one woke up, and they all look way too excited. The silver-haired girl, Alphen, picks him up while the other 2 basically tackle him from below. Aster is completely overwhelmed by the chaos, thinking this situation is nuts. He's being squeezed and poked by these energetic girls, and he looks absolutely miserable. He's gone from a legendary warrior to a living toy for a bunch of kids. Aster's finally had enough and lets out a huff, pushing himself off to escape their grasp. The girls are caught totally off guard by his sudden burst of strength. He hits the floor and starts crawling away at top speed, desperate to get some space. He's cursing his luck, wondering what on earth is happening to him. One of the girls with green eyes leans in with a shocked expression, yelling at him as she watches the baby bolt across the room. It's a full-on baby chase as Aster scrambles across the floor while the 3 girls hunt him down, yelling for him to stop. He's so stressed that he's actually starting to glow with yellow magic energy. We get a close-up of his eye, and that golden glow is getting intense. His dormant power is clearly reacting to his panic. And boom, a massive pillar of yellow magic erupts from the floor, launching baby Aster straight into the air. Even he's shocked, realizing that his magic is finally manifesting in this new body. Aster is flying through the air like a little golden rocket, totally unable to control the situation. He's flailing around, screaming internally because he has no idea how to stop. We see him plummeting down toward the roof of a house, and he's absolutely terrified. He's literally a falling baby bomb at this point. He closes his eyes tight and braces for the impact, sweating bullets. He really thought his second life was going to end before it even properly started. But instead of hitting the roof, he's caught. Viscount Hyfried is holding him, looking pretty amused as he comments on how mysterious it is for a baby to fall from the sky. Aster opens his eyes and sees the man who saved him. His eyes go wide with recognition as he realizes exactly who he's dealing with. Hyfried stands tall in the snow, cradling the baby. The text officially introduces him as Hyfried, the Viscount of the Rodrik domain. Aster looks at the massive mansion they're approaching and realizes he's ended up at another Elmheim house. This was not exactly his plan for a clean escape. We get a formal look at Hyfried Mu Elmheim, the head of this branch family. He looks like a respectable nobleman, but Aster knows there's more to his story. It turns out this guy used to be a legend. He was one of the 2 wings alongside Aster's evil father Rodrik, tasked with protecting the royal family. Aster remembers an old family portrait and the rumors that this entire branch family was wiped out in a civil war. Seeing them alive and well is a huge shock. He reaches out his hand, finally coming to terms with the truth. He really has regressed back to the past, and everything is different this time around. A tiny Aster looks totally defeated as he facepalms. He was trying so hard to run away from the Duke's house, and somehow he got picked up by the Duke's own brother. Hyfried's wife, the Viscountess, takes baby Aster and asks if his magic just went out of control. Hyfried admits he thought the kid was more than just a normal baby. The Viscountess looks down at Aster with the kindest smile you've ever seen. She's already clearly in love with this random baby they found in the snow. She gives him a warm hug, telling him he must have been scared and that it's all okay now. Aster isn't used to this kind of genuine affection at all. He looks up at her, totally confused by her kindness. While she's stroking his hair, he's busy trying to figure out his next move. Hyfried watches them with a gentle look on his face. He's clearly a much better guy than Aster's actual father. Hyfried reaches out a hand, his expression turning serious. He senses something special and declares that this child possesses tremendous power. He pulls back the baby's sleeve to show his wife a glowing red mark on the kid's arm. He says this crest is the ultimate proof of Aster's potential. Aster looks down at his own arm and his eyes nearly pop out of his head. He can't believe he's already manifesting the power of the 7 wings as an infant. He stares at the red crest on his tiny arm, completely baffled. In his last life, he was wingless, so why the heck is it here now? His eyes narrow as he starts putting the pieces together. The rage from his previous life is starting to boil over again. He has a flashback to his death, remembering Rodrik standing over him and admitting he only wanted to steal the power of the 7 wings. Everything clicks for him. Rodrik didn't throw him away because he was useless. He raised him just to harvest his power. He's more determined than ever to get revenge. Baby Aster is absolutely fuming, his tiny face contorted with pure hatred for Rodrik. He's thinking about how his father had the nerve to call him wingless while planning to steal his wings the whole time. The Viscountess looks down at the baby she's holding and gets a little worried because he's making such an intense face. Hyfried's face is half covered in shadow as he looks at the boy. He's making a big decision and he looks incredibly focused. Aster looks at Hyfried and realizes this situation is getting dangerous. He's worried about what these people might do now that they know about his power. A tiny internal Aster is clenching his fists, swearing that he won't let his power fall into the hands of the Elmheim family again. He's ready to use this strength for revenge. Hi-Fry drops a total bombshell. He wants to adopt him. He looks resolved to protect this mysterious child and bring him into their family. Aster just stares at him from the side, completely stunned into silence. He definitely did not see that coming. Hi-Fry reaches out his hand toward Aster, ready to officially take responsibility for the kid's future. He gently pats Aster's head, calling him a fledgling who can't even fly on his own yet. It's actually a really sweet moment. Hi-Fry stands tall next to his wife, vowing to take care of the boy until he's ready to take off on his own. Aster is just sitting there in his wife's arms, soaking it all in. And that's a close-up of Aster's eye. He's absolutely floored by the fact that someone actually wants to take care of him without wanting something in return. Suddenly, the three little girls from before all trip and fall through the doorway. They were totally eavesdropping on the whole conversation. Hi-Fry turns around and catches them red-handed, asking if they were listening to everything. The girls look like they just got caught with their hands in the cookie jar. They try to act all innocent, and Alphen claims they were just super worried about the new baby. They look relieved that he's staying though. The whole family is gathered around the new baby. One of the red-haired girls is even pulling on her mother's dress to get a better look at her new brother. The Viscountess holds baby Aster up high while the little orange-haired girl tries to play with him. Aster is just dangling there, probably wondering when he can go back to sleep. She looks at him with a proud, loving smile. She's officially a mom again, and she couldn't be happier about it. We see Aster being held up toward the window as the sun sets, and his new name appears in a big, glowing bubble. Hi-Fry declares that he's the new star born into their family. It's a complete 180 from his last life, where he was treated like a disgrace. Time skip alert. We see a massive, beautiful white castle under a bright sun. 10 whole years have passed since that day in the snow. A gray-haired Hi-Fry is walking through the grounds when a servant tells him that they've been waiting for his arrival. A carriage door opens, and we see the legs of a young man stepping out onto the stone courtyard. Check out the glow-up. This is 10-year-old Aster. He looks super sharp in his vest, and he's clearly grown into a handsome young man. He turns back to the carriage and offers his hand to help a girl out, telling her to watch her step. What a gentleman. The girl is Alphen, and she's grown up too. She gives him a big, bright smile and thanks him. We see a little bubble of baby Aster to remind us how far he's come. The two of them walk together, and Alphen is actually carrying a sword on her hip. Looks like the whole family is into martial arts. They're walking through a grand courtyard toward a huge event. A sign lets us know this is the Sword Dance Assembly. This assembly is a massive annual gathering for all the martial arts families under the Elmheim banner. It's basically where everyone goes to show off their skills and act tough. We see a close-up of the boots of all the swordsman candidates who have come to represent their family names. The competition is going to be fierce. Aster and Alphen walk right into the middle of a huge crowd of people. There's a lot of murmuring going on as everyone notices the Viscount family has arrived. The people in the crowd are talking trash, whispering about how the Viscount family adopted some boy from who knows where because they couldn't have their own heir. A bunch of dark, menacing silhouettes with glowing red eyes represent the judgmental nobility. They're wondering how much more the Viscount intends to tarnish the Elmheim name. Aster stands before the massive gates of the main estate, looking up at the grand architecture. He's thinking that this is the place with that guy. Alphen looks pretty pissed off by all the nasty comments she's hearing. Aster remains perfectly calm and tells her not to worry about it. Someone's clenching their fist hard. The text reminds us of the harsh reality of this world. Those who show weakness are crushed. Aster and Alphen stand side by side, ready to face the crowd. Aster looks completely unfazed by the hostile glares coming their way. Hi-Fry stands with Aster and explains that this is the current position of their family. They're clearly the underdogs here. He stands in front of the massive main mansion, telling Aster that he wanted him to see this reality for himself. Hi-Fry looks at his adopted son and asks if he's disappointed to be part of a family that's looked down upon like this. Aster gives him a cocky, confident smirk and says no, he's fine with it being this chilly. He's clearly got some big plans. Hi-Fry lets out a big laugh, clearly pleased by the boy's attitude. He says that's very reassuring to hear. Aster has a brief flashback to his previous life, where he was face down in the dirt during his social debut. He was considered a complete disgrace back then. He looks back at that memory of his weaker self with total confidence. He knows things are different now because the Seven Wings have returned to him. We get an epic close-up of his glowing golden eye. He's locked in and ready to rewrite history. The three of them walk toward the grand building together, ready to make their entrance. Up in a window, two snobby-looking guys are watching them arrive with looks of pure disdain. These look like they could be Aster's former brothers. Aster looks up with a dark, shadowy expression. He knows exactly who those guys are, and he's probably already planning their downfall. The group walks toward the entrance of the mansion. A speech bubble notes that now, first of all, it's time to make a glorious social debut. Aster looks right at us with a predatory, high-stakes smirk. This kid is about to shock the entire martial world, and I am here for it. The stage is set for the sword dance assembly, and the atmosphere is absolutely electric. Thousands have gathered to watch the elite knights of the kingdom show off what real power looks like. We see a blonde knight getting into a stance. In an era where knights ruled supreme, might wasn't just a word, it was their complete mastery over the blade. The red-haired warrior lunges forward with incredible speed. These guys are living proof that in this world, your skill with a sword determines your worth. From the high balconies, the view of the arena is breathtaking. This is the absolute pinnacle of swordsmanship, where every strike is a work of art. The sound of clashing steel echoes through the hall as two masters go at it. Majesty was their undying renown, and they're definitely living up to the hype. One knight charges across the stone floor, leaving a trail of dust in his wake. The level of focus and intensity in these matches is just insane. We get a dramatic, high-contrast shot of the two combatants clashing swords in the center of the ring. It's like time has slowed down just to capture this one perfect moment of struggle. The battle reaches its peak with a flurry of strikes and flying sparks. One fighter's face is a mask of pure effort as he tries to break through his opponent's guard. Victory is declared. The winning knight raises his blade to the cheering crowd, embodying the prestige of the medal everyone is competing for. A close-up of a hand gripping a sword hilt shows glowing blue magic crests. This isn't just about physical strength, it's about how well you can infuse your weapon with your soul. Aster, Alfin, and Highfried are watching the chaos from the balcony. Highfried admits that even after all these years, this place still feels totally overwhelming. Alfin and one of her sisters look completely over it. Alfin says it's no wonder their other sisters didn't want to come. The vibe here is just toxic. Aster stares down at the arena, his eyes cold and distant. Behind him, we see shadowy figures from his past life, the bullies who made his first existence a living hell. He has a dark flashback to his previous life, where he was lying face down on these very floors, humiliated while everyone laughed at him. Talk about bad memories. Alfin notices he's acting weird and asks if he's nervous. She's actually worried about him, which is a nice change of pace. They're leaning against the balcony railing, looking out over the crowd. Alfin reminds him that it's his first time at the sword dance festival, so being a little shaky is normal. Aster gives her a calm, almost scary smile. He tells her it's not really nerves, it just feels nostalgic, or rather quite loathsome. Alfin just gives him a confused look. She clearly doesn't get why he's being so intense, but that's just our regressor protagonist being himself. Highfried tells the kids he's got a meeting to attend, so he's heading off for a bit. He puts a hand on Aster's shoulder and tells him he's counting on him to look after Alfin. Alfin gets all huffy, reminding her dad that she's a year older than Aster and way more honest. Aster just smirks and tells her it's because she's so clumsy, which gets her even more riled up. Highfried pats Aster on the back one last time, telling them both to use this time to mingle and build some connections. He's trying to be a good dad, but he has no idea what's about to happen. Before he leaves, he leans in and whispers a serious warning. He wants to make sure no one finds out about the 7 wings. The stakes just got a lot higher. Highfried walks away, leaving the two of them alone. Aster sighs, thinking to himself that staying under the radar is easier said than done in a place like this. We see a bunch of arrogant-looking nobles whispering and staring at them with glowing red eyes. The hostility in the room is thick enough to cut with a knife. Aster scratches his head, feeling the pressure. He thinks it's nearly impossible to socialize when the atmosphere is this blatantly hostile toward them. Check out that close-up of his eye, one golden, one dark. He spotted someone in the crowd, and you can tell his revenge senses are tingling. He starts walking away without a word, and Alfin calls out after him, asking where on earth he's going. He doesn't even look back, just tells her he's going to go make some friends. Yeah, I think we all know what kind of friends he's talking about. We get a high-angle shot of a group of rich kids lounging on a fancy sofa. One red-haired guy is laughing like a total jerk while his lackeys egg him on. Aster walks right up to the group and just stands there. The red-haired guy looks up at him with a smug, annoyed expression and asks who the hell he is. Aster gives him a fake friendly greeting, saying it's nice to meet him, Brother Dallas. He's stepping right into the lion's den. He introduces himself as Aster F. Elmheim and drops the bombshell that he's their younger brother. He's got that polite but deadly smile on his face. Dallas looks at him with pure suspicion. Aster says he saw them from outside and thought he'd come by and say hello. The tension is already through the roof. One of the lackeys leans in and tells Dallas that this is the adopted kid the Viscount family picked up. Dallas just lounges back on the sofa, looking at Aster like he's trash. Dallas starts laughing his head off, calling Aster shameless for even having the nerve to carry the Elmheim name. This guy is asking for a beatdown. Aster has a dark flashback to his past life. He reveals that these two, Dallas and Grian, are the legitimate heirs, and they are the ones who literally killed him in his previous life. Back in the present, a spotlight falls on the scummy group. Aster thinks to himself that they just look like kids playing dress-up now that he's seen the world. He looks down at them with a shadowy expression, thinking about how pathetic it is that he actually used to find these losers intimidating. We see another close-up of Aster's golden eye. He's remaining perfectly calm on the outside, but you can tell he's just waiting for the right moment to strike. Alphen finally catches up and grabs Aster's hand, trying to pull him away. She tells him to come on, saying they've already said their hellos and it's time to go. Dalis spots Alphen and calls her over with a disgusting grin. Alphen looks completely terrified, her knees literally shaking as she stares him down. He starts mocking them, asking if they're still hiding behind their father's back. He tells them to come over and keep them company, and he's not asking nicely. Alphen stays silent, looking away in shame. Dalis claims it's an order since they're from the main house and she's just from a branch family. Alphen finally finds her voice and firmly refuses. She reminds him that there is no master-servant relationship between their families, and she looks like a total boss saying it. But Dalis doesn't care. He jumps up and grabs Alphen's wrist as she tries to walk away, growling that he's not done talking yet. Aster looks on from behind her, his eyes narrowing. He's gripping her arm so hard it's clearly hurting her. This dude is a total scumbag, and you can see Aster's hand starting to twitch. Aster's face is half shadowed, and the look in his eyes is pure murder. He's reached his breaking point, and he's about to unleash hell on these guys. Dalis starts laughing maniacally, telling them they want to know something. He starts trash-talking Alphen's father, calling him a knight who couldn't even protect the king. He brings up the most painful family secret, saying Highfried took the fall and had his arm chopped off by his own brother. He's literally twisting the knife in Alphen's heart. Alphen looks absolutely crushed. She's staring at the floor with tears in her eyes, unable to say a word in her father's defense. Dalis keeps going, saying he's glad he doesn't have the blood of a loser flowing through his veins. This guy is a walking, talking garbage can. Alphen finally snaps and screams at him to take that back at the top of her lungs. She's shaking with rage, but Dalis just looks amused by her outburst. He actually stands up and splashes his entire glass of red liquid right into Alphen's face. She's standing there in shock as the liquid drips off her chin. He keeps insulting her, calling her a useless woman from a family of nothing who can't even inherit a title. He tells her that her father must be so disappointed in her. Dalis holds up his empty glass, looking like a total psycho. He tells her she should wear some cheap trash instead, since it won't matter when she gets dirtier. Alphen is standing there shivering, covered in red juice and looking totally humiliated. It's a heartbreaking sight, but Aster is right there behind her. Aster looks at the group on the sofa and thinks to himself that he was actually worried before he got here. He's got that calm, cold demeanor again. He was worried that he wouldn't feel any anger even after seeing their faces again. Well, it looks like he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. One of the lackeys is holding a full bottle of juice, and Aster's eyes are locked right on it. You can see where this is going. Aster puts a hand on Alphen's shoulder to calm her down, and she looks back at him in total surprise. He thinks to himself what a relief this is. He calls out to Dalis while holding a bottle in the air, his face completely shadowed. He calls out his name, and you just know it's about to go down. Dalis looks up from the sofa, totally confused by what Aster is doing. He has no idea he's about to get a face full of karma and wipe out. Aster pours the entire bottle over Dalis's head in one smooth motion. He tells them it's good to see they're both still pieces of garbage. Dalis is absolutely drenched, screaming in shock as the red liquid gets into his eyes and mouth. This is the most satisfying thing I've seen all day. Aster stands over the shivering Dalis, holding the empty bottle like it's no big deal. The lackey on the sofa is screaming for his brother, but he's too scared to actually do anything. Aster casually tastes a drop of the liquid on his finger and looks totally bored. He notes that it's just grape juice. He looks Dalis right in the eye with a dark, predatory smirk. He says it fits a bratty noble like him perfectly. Big mistake, Dalis. Big mistake. We're getting a flashback to 3 years ago, and things are looking intense. Highfried is desperately trying to keep a lid on a massive explosion of golden energy, shouting at Aster to hold it back. Highfried is shielding Aster's sisters, who are absolutely terrified. He's yelling at the kid, asking if he's trying to accidentally take out his own family with that crazy power. Check out the sweat on Highfried's face. He is struggling just to stay standing. He tells Aster to get a grip because the pressure from the kid's magic is getting out of hand. The golden energy is swirling everywhere, and it's confirmed this is the legendary Seven Wings power. Highfried is in total disbelief that a child could house something this dangerous and overwhelming. Highfried stands his ground, but you can tell he's questioning everything. He's wondering if a power this massive can even be controlled by a human being. And then there's young Aster, looking like a total omen of destruction with those glowing gold eyes. He tells his father that the power will be controlled by both of them. Back in the present, a soldier bursts into the meeting room looking like he's seen a ghost. Highfried is caught off guard, demanding to know what's so urgent that it can't wait. The whole council is staring the soldier down as he delivers the news. Highfried is annoyed because they're right in the middle of a high-stakes conference. The bombshell drops. The heirs of the main house and the branch house are currently engaged in a full-blown duel. Even the other nobles look stunned by how fast things escalated. We get a split shot of Highfried's panic and Rodrik's ice-cold calm. Rodrik doesn't even look surprised. He's probably enjoying the chaos. Highfried isn't waiting around. He bolts out of the conference room and sprints through the halls. He hears Alphen's voice calling out to him as he runs. Alphen catches up to her father, looking completely frantic. He demands to know exactly what happened to lead to this mess. They reach the balcony overlooking the arena, where a massive, muscular guy is already watching the show. He seems way too excited about a brotherly quarrel between the kids. Down in the center of the arena, Aster and Dalus are squared off, ready to go. The nobles in the stands are whispering that you don't get to see a spectacle like this every day. Highfried is gripping the railing, looking worried sick. The bearded guy next to him just grins, saying the outcome of this fight could change everything. Another noble is sweating bullets, realizing just how much is on the line here. If the Branch family wins, it's going to cause a massive scandal. The muscular lord is loving every second of this tension. He knows this sword dance gathering is about to turn into a total, chaotic free-for-all. Dalus is over there acting like he's already won, pointing his sword at Aster and calling him a mongrel. He clearly thinks he's on another level because of his bloodline. Dalus raises his blade high, and it's surging with blue magical energy. The crowd gasps because that's a four-wing crest, a level of power most people can only dream of. He gives Aster a disgusting, condescending smirk and tells him to show his own crest. He thinks he's about to embarrass the kid in front of the entire kingdom. Aster just looks at him with total boredom, not even flinching at the display of power. He calls Dalus out for being so proud of a mere pattern on his arm. Check out that look in Aster's eyes. He tells Dalus that flaunting power like that is a shameful habit he'd never stoop to. Talk about a savage burn. Dalus's face turns bright red with rage. He is absolutely livid. No one has ever talked to him like that, especially not some adopted outsider. The stakes are set. If Aster wins, Dalus has to apologize to Alphen. But if Dalus wins, Aster has to spend the rest of his life as his literal dog. Dalus lunges forward with a massive downward strike, screaming that he's going to make Aster regret ever being born. He's putting his whole weight into this first attack. With a loud clang, Aster blocks the heavy strike with one hand, sparks flying everywhere as the two blades collide. He didn't even budge. Aster effortlessly deflects the follow-up swing and slides past Dalus like he's moving through water. Dalus is swinging at thin air while Aster stays perfectly balanced. Dalus isn't giving up. He activates his four-wing crest, and a red magical aura explodes around him. He's finally getting serious. He spins his sword, weaving a web of red magical energy. He looks like a whirlwind of destruction right now. He unleashes a barrage of red energy slashes at Aster. It's a total onslaught, but Aster is just standing his ground in the middle of the storm. Alphen is watching from the balcony, her heart in her throat. She can see just how much power Dalus is throwing around, and she's terrified for her brother. The muscular duke watches the exchange with a critical eye. He comments that while Dalus has power, his actual swordsmanship is still pretty immature. Dalus continues to press the attack, his red magic lighting up the entire arena. The text explains that this overwhelming magic is the real advantage of the high-tier wing crests. We get a quick explanation of the power gap. One wing is like a candle, but four wings is like a literal explosion. Aster is fighting an uphill battle here. Dalus is a blur of motion, launching explosion-level strikes one after another. He's trying to overwhelm Aster's defense with pure brute force magic. Dalus starts laughing like a maniac, asking where all that bravado went. He thinks he's got Aster cornered because the kid is only blocking. Aster is taking the hits, his blade glowing as he absorbs the impact of those red-hot slashes. He looks completely calm and asks Dalus if he's done with his little speech yet. Aster's eyes go dark, and he tells Dalus straight up that he talks too much. He's finally decided to stop playing around. Aster unleashes a single, massive, golden energy slash that cuts right through Dalus's red magic. He just shattered a four-wing attack like it was nothing. Aster stands there wreathed in golden flames, looking like a god of war. The atmosphere in the arena has completely shifted. Aster moves like a flash of lightning, closing the distance in an instant. He's thinking about how he's been waiting 10 years for the chance to get revenge on these monsters. He delivers a brutal horizontal strike, his blade trailing golden energy. Dalus can barely react in time to bring his sword up to block. Aster has officially reached his limit with the trash talk. He looks directly at Dalus with those terrifying, glowing yellow eyes and tells him point blank that he talks too much. Aster makes his move, unleashing a heavy horizontal strike that trails golden light across the arena. The force of the blow is insane, catching Dalus off guard and forcing him to block as he skids backward across the stone floor. Aster stands his ground, wreathed in a swirling vortex of golden mana that flares up around him. He looks completely untouchable, like he's just getting started while everyone else is already exhausted. He launches himself into the air, closing the gap in a single, lightning-fast motion. His internal monologue reveals he's been waiting 10 long years for this, the perfect chance to take revenge on the monsters from his past life. Check out that focus. Aster puts his entire weight into a massive downward swing, his golden eye fixed on his target as his blade glows with overwhelming power. And wham! Aster slams his sword down, creating a massive explosion of golden energy right in Dalus's face. Dalus is buckled over, groaning as he tries to survive the sheer pressure of the hit. Dallas is forced down on one knee, blood dripping from his mouth as he struggles to catch his breath. He is officially in the red zone now. The younger brother, Grion, is watching from the sidelines with his jaw on the floor. He can't wrap his head around his invincible brother getting schooled like this. Aster presses his sword against Dallas's, and the golden energy is literally swallowing up the red magic. Dallas is being physically and magically crushed. Dallas is panicking, his eyes wide with fear as he realizes he's completely outclassed. He keeps repeating that he's four-winged like a mantra, but it's not helping him now. Aster looks down at him with those terrifying, glowing gold eyes. He has the same final boss energy his father has, and it's haunting Dallas. Boom. Aster unleashes a final burst of golden energy that sends Dallas flying. The impact is so loud it echoes through the entire palace. The crowd is dead silent. Everyone is in total shock. They just watch the heir of the main house get absolutely demolished by an adopted kid. Aster stands in the middle of a golden firestorm, looking like a literal monster. The nobles realize that there's a new power in the Elmheim family, and it's terrifying. Highfried and Alfin are watching from above, and Highfried looks grim. He knows that revealing this much power is going to put a massive target on Aster's back. Dallas is cowering on the ground, his face a mask of pure terror. He's finally seeing the world for what it is, and he's at the bottom of the food chain. Aster has a quick flashback to his previous life, remembering these two standing over him and laughing while he died. The trauma is fueling his rage. Back in the present, Aster looks like a demon of vengeance. He's wreathed in black and gold energy, his aura so heavy it's making the ground crack. Dallas is literally begging for his life, stuttering for him to stop. He's completely broken and humiliated in front of everyone. Alfin screams for Aster to stop from the balcony. She can see he's about to cross a line he can't come back from, and she's trying to snap him out of it. A massive explosion of dark energy rocks the arena as Aster unleashes his frustration. The shockwave is so strong it nearly knocks people off the balconies. The muscular Duke stands up, looking incredibly impressed. He's not worried about the scandal. He's just happy to see such a monstrous level of talent. Aster stands over the defeated Dallas, who is a shivering wreck on the floor. Aster tells him that next time he should come wrapped in a rag so he doesn't mind getting his fancy clothes soaked. Dallas is just whimpering in the dirt, completely destroyed. Aster's words are even more painful than the physical beating he just took. Aster looks up toward the balcony, his expression turning cold and distant. He's finished his business with Dallas, but he knows this is just the beginning. He casually sheathes his sword and turns his back on the crowd. He doesn't care about their cheers or their judgment. He's playing a much bigger game. Alfin is leaning over the railing, cheering for her brother with a huge smile. Aster thinks to himself that he's officially done being Ash, the Wingless. He gives a small, confident smirk as he walks away. He's finally proven to himself and the world that he's no longer the victim of his past life. Suddenly, his golden eyes widen as a chill runs down his spine. He senses a presence so massive and dark that it makes his previous fight look like a joke. A terrifying red and black pressure starts to fill the entire hall, making it hard for everyone to breathe. This is high-level final boss energy. Aster breaks into a cold sweat as he looks toward the grand staircase. He realizes exactly who has arrived, and his pulse starts racing. At the top of the stairs stands Lord Rodrik himself, draped in a massive, suffocating red aura. He looks down at Aster with those glowing red eyes, and the room goes deathly silent. Aster stares back at the man who murdered him in his previous life. The real nightmare is finally standing right in front of him. The crowd is absolutely losing it after that fight. Nobody can believe that a kid from a branch family actually managed to wipe the floor with the heir of the main house. Check out those heavy boots stepping into the arena. The vibe just got 10 times more intense. The narration says this win has put everyone in a bad spot, and there's no way this guy is going to let his family's reputation stay dragged through the mud. Aster looks up and realizes he's in for the fight of his life. The man standing in front of him is none other than the absolute unit leading the Elmheim main family. Dallas is a total mess on the floor, bleeding from his mouth and looking up with a mix of terror and relief. He knows his daddy is here to bail him out, but he also knows he's in deep trouble for losing. It's a classic David versus Goliath moment as tiny Aster stands his ground against the massive, imposing figure of Rodrik. The power gap between them is visible just by looking at the stone floor cracking under Rodrik's presence. Meet the big boss himself, Lord Rodrik. With that white beard and those cold eyes, he radiates final boss energy like nobody else in this series. Aster is literally sweating bullets, his face half-shadowed by a menacing red aura. He knows one wrong move here, and his second life is going to be even shorter than his first. The text officially introduces him as Lord Rodrik A. Elmheim as he steps forward. This guy doesn't just walk, he dominates every inch of the space he's in. Dallas starts pointing at Aster like the little snitch he is, shouting his father's name. He's desperately trying to shift the blame so he doesn't get executed for being weak. He goes on a total rant, calling Aster a filthy half-breed who dared to defy the main family. This dude really has zero shame after getting his butt kicked. Rodrik's red eye glows with pure malice as he looks down at his loser son. He tells Dallas to use his power to show Aster his place, but you can tell he's already disappointed. With a loud crack, a hand is slammed into the stone floor with enough force to shatter the arena. Rodrik isn't attacking Aster, he's dealing with his own kid. Talk about a tough love moment. Rodrik just slammed Dallas's hand into the dirt. Blood is spraying everywhere as the heir of the main family screams in total agony. The crowd is absolutely horrified, and honestly, can you blame them? Dallas looks like he's having the worst day of his life while his own father looks down on him with zero pity. Rodrik stands over Dallas with his sword drawn, looking like a literal god of judgment. He asks Dallas if he even realizes how much he just embarrassed their entire bloodline. Highfried is shouting from the balcony, begging Rodrik to stop the brutality. Even for a martial house, this is going way too far, and the Viscount is clearly disgusted. Rodrik doesn't care about the peanut gallery. He raises his foot to crush what's left of Dallas's hand. He tells him straight up that a loser who can't win has no right to even hold a sword. Suddenly, a flash of blue magical energy streaks across the panel. Someone is actually brave, or stupid, enough to intervene in Rodrik's business. We get a split-second reaction shot of the chaos, with Rodrik's red eye flaring in surprise. He definitely wasn't expecting anyone to step in. Aster has entered the chat. He's blocked Rodrik's foot with his own sword, standing protectively over the very guy who was just trying to kill him. Rodrik is baffled, asking Aster what the hell he thinks he's doing. Aster doesn't miss a beat, reminding him that his cousin still hasn't apologized to Alfin yet. Aster stares his biological father down, calling him uncle with zero fear. He asks if Rodrik can hold off on the execution until Dallas finishes his apology. Rodrik is offended that this orphan is even speaking to him. He asks Aster if he really thinks being adopted by a branch house makes him a real Elmheim. Aster fires back that he's the proud son of the Viscount. He tells Rodrik that even without blood ties, his father taught him everything he needs to know about honor and pride. Rodrik just stands there in silence, staring Aster down with a look that would kill a normal person. The tension is so thick you could cut it with a knife. Rodrik starts radiating a massive, dark red aura that fills the entire panel. He tells Aster that as a member of the Viscount's house, he better be ready to face the pride of the King's sword. The muscular lord on the balcony is watching the drama unfold with a grin. He notes that Rodrik has 12,000 elite knights under his command, so Aster is playing with fire. The mustache noble is sweating buckets, realizing this is way past a childhood squabble now. This is a full-on political disaster in the making. The blue-haired noble is just chilling, watching the show like it's a movie. He brings up the dark history, reminding everyone that Highfried already lost an arm for his disloyalty. Highfried stands on the balcony looking absolutely grim. He knows exactly what kind of monster Rodrik is, and he's terrified for his adopted son. Rodrik points his blade right at Aster's throat, and you can practically feel the killing intent. He asks Aster what he's actually prepared to sacrifice for his little stunt. Check out that close-up of Aster's mouth. He's not stuttering. He starts his reply with all due respect to his uncle, and you just know he's about to drop some heat. Aster explains that this wasn't just some petty spat. It was a legitimate duel he won fairly. He tells Rodrik that he was just answering insults against his house the only way a knight should. Rodrik looks like he's about to explode with rage. His teeth are gritted and his eyes are glowing like a demon's as he listens to this kid lecture him. Aster finishes his speech by throwing Rodrik's own words back at him about the right to hold a sword. He declares that he has zero intention of throwing away even a single finger today. Alfin is clutching the railing, looking like she's about to have a heart attack. The bearded guy behind her is just trying to keep her from falling over as the pressure mounts. The blue-haired noble is actually laughing now. He can't get over the fact that a 10-year-old is standing up to the most terrifying man on the continent. The red aura around Rodrik is getting out of control. He's clearly debating whether to just end Aster right then and there. Rodrik finally says he sees and lowers his sword just a tiny bit. For a second, it looks like he might actually back down. Psych. Rodrik moves so fast he's a total blur, and Aster's eyes go wide as he realizes he can't dodge this. The big boss finally made his move. The blade flashes past Aster's face at top speed. If he had been even a millimeter closer, his head would be rolling on the floor right now. Rodrik unleashes a massive vertical energy slash that literally cleaves the arena floor in two. The sheer power on display here is just ridiculous. Alfin screams her head off, covering her mouth in total horror. From her angle, it looks like Aster just got turned into a red smear on the ground. Highfried is screaming Rodrik's name as he loses his mind. He's leaning over the balcony, ready to throw himself into the crater to save his kid. Rodrik stands in the middle of the smoke, looking like he didn't even break a sweat. In the background, you can see Highfried leaping off the balcony like a superhero. The two brothers clash in midair. Sparks are flying as Highfried blocks Rodrik's follow-up strike with everything he's got. The impact creates a massive shockwave that sends dust flying everywhere. Highfried is shielding Aster while Rodrik just stands there, totally unmoved. Highfried desperately calls out to Aster, asking if he's still in one piece. The kid is lucky he has such a badass adoptive dad. Rodrik's sword is buried deep in the stone floor where Aster was standing a second ago. He's already walking away like he's bored of the whole situation. Eifried looks back with a shocked expression, realizing just how much power was in that casual strike. He knows Rodrik was barely even trying. Aster is still standing in the middle of the rubble, clutching his sword. He looks like he's been through hell, but he's still on his feet. Check out that close-up. Aster is covered in blood and dust, but his golden eye is glowing with absolute defiance. This kid is literally too angry to die. Rodrik gives one last glance over his shoulder as he leaves. He doesn't say a word, but you can tell Aster has finally caught his attention. The Duke walks away with his cape flowing majestically, leaving a trail of destruction behind him. Dallas is still whimpering in the dirt while the Branch family tries to recover. Aster's arm finally drops as his adrenaline runs out. Eifried is right there to catch him, his face full of concern for his son. Aster collapses into Eifried's arms, totally spent. The Viscount is shouting his name, making sure he hasn't passed out yet. Aster looks up with a bloody, exhausted smile and tells his father that he kept his promise and protected Alphen. What an absolute legend. Eifried looks at Aster with a mix of pride and heartbreak. He tells the boy that, yes, he was absolutely magnificent out there. Rodrik leads the humiliated Dallas out of the arena as the other nobles watch from above. The main house is leaving with their tails between their legs for the first time ever. The blue-haired noble mocks Rodrik's display, calling it a childish move. Even the other lords are starting to see that the Duke's grip on power might be slipping. Dallas is being dragged away like a kicked dog, looking totally broken. The narration notes that if Aster had finished him, the main family's reputation would have been completely destroyed. We get a stylized shot of Aster facing down Rodrik. The text calls him a rising star who made the most bold and dangerous stand imaginable. The mustached noble and the bearded guy are gossiping about how this was the most spectacular debut in history. Aster didn't just join high society, he kicked the door down. Rodrik looks back at the mansion with a dark expression. He knows an era of upheaval is coming, and a storm is brewing that might split the whole world in two. The chapter ends with Alphen rushing down to give Aster a massive hug while Eifried looks on. This family survived the storm, but the real war is just beginning. We start off on a beautiful day with the sound of wood on wood. It's a peaceful morning at the Viscount's estate, or at least it was until the training started. The guards are watching from the balcony, looking totally blown away. They've seen some stuff, but apparently whatever is happening down there is on a whole other level. And there's our boy Aster, absolutely wrecking house. He's using a wooden practice sword to send another trainee flying with a single hit. His opponent is flat on his back, but he's actually got a grin on his face. He's impressed by the raw power, and honestly, can you blame him? Check out the young master looking like a total boss in the sunlight. Aster is really leaning into that protagonist energy after his debut at the assembly. The soldiers are gossiping about how terrifyingly skilled he is for a 10-year-old. They note that since he got back from the sword dance assembly, he's been training like his life depends on it. Word travels fast, and everyone knows he crushed Lord Rodrik's third son. The mood in the Branch family's house is at an all-time high right now. The main family has been lording over everyone for way too long, so hearing about Aster's win is like a breath of fresh air for these guys. Aster isn't letting the fame go to his head. He's out there in the field, moving like a blur. He knows he made a statement at the assembly, but he's nowhere near satisfied. He's pushing his body to the limit, trying to shut up all those voices that used to mock the Viscount's house. He wants to see exactly how much power he can really pull out of this new body. He's clashing with an instructor, and you can see the intensity in his eyes. He didn't just want to win a duel, he wanted to test the absolute limits of his strength right then and there. Aster clenches his fist, realizing a cold truth. At his current level, he still has zero chance of beating Rodrik. That gold eye is glowing with a hunger for more power. He puts everything into a massive swing, knowing that a wing crest is just a fancy indicator for latent potential. It doesn't mean a thing if you can't use it. He has a dark vision of his inner world where he's still falling through that red abyss. Even with all this training, the true power of the 7 wings is still just out of reach. In his mind, whether you're born with magic or not, it's all wasted potential if it can't be controlled. He's terrified of the power rampaging before he can master it. With a loud snap, the wooden practice sword literally explodes under the pressure of his swing. That's some serious force for a 10-year-old. He crouches in the dust, the shards of the sword scattered around him. He's pushing himself so hard that standard equipment can't even handle his training anymore. Look at that determination. He's not going to stop until he can stand on equal footing with the monsters of the main house. He shouts out, asking for the next challenger. He's standing over a pile of broken wood, a literal menace on the training grounds today. The field is littered with guys who tried to step up and got absolutely flattened. Aster clearly doesn't know the meaning of the word restraint. Aster stops when he hears someone approaching, his yellow eyes sharp as ever. Even after all those duels, he's barely breaking a sweat. Alphen makes her entrance, and she is looking fierce in her dark training suit. She tells Aster that their father is calling for him. Aster looks at the pile of defeated soldiers and sighs. He tells her he's on his way. He's always ready to jump when the Viscount calls. But wait, Aster stops and does a double take at Alphen. He's looking at her outfit like he's seeing a ghost. Alphen looks pretty sharp in her gear, even if she looks a little embarrassed by the attention. Aster points out it's a rare sight because she always told him she hated wearing the training suit. Something has definitely changed in her. She admits that everything needs balance. Apparently, seeing Aster work so hard made her realize she can't just sit on the sidelines anymore. Surprise. Alphen suddenly points her practice sword right at Aster's nose. The kid is caught totally off guard by the sudden challenge. She's got a mischievous look in her eyes now. She tells him that once she gets back from her own mission, he's going to be spending plenty of time training with her. Aster just gives her a warm, genuine smile. It's a rare moment of peace for a kid who's usually thinking about revenge. He watches her walk away and laughs to himself, telling her to go easy on him. The training ground is finally quiet, except for the groans of the guys on the floor. Aster heads inside and gives a polite knock on a massive wooden door. He's shifting from warrior to noble son in an instant. He enters Hyfried's study, looking every bit the respectful student. He announces his presence as he finds his father sitting at a massive desk. Hyfried looks up with a serious expression and tells Aster to take a seat. You can tell this isn't going to be a casual, "How was your day's?" conversation. Aster sits on the fancy sofa, his posture perfect. He's wondering what could be so important that his dad called him in right in the middle of training. Hyfried notes that it's been about 10 years since they first brought Aster into the family. He's getting all nostalgic, which is usually a sign that a big reveal is coming. He leans forward and says he thought he'd wait until Aster was a bit more grown before doing this, but the situation has changed. He pulls out a small blue pillow with a stunning red gem ring on it. Aster looks at it like it's a bomb, asking what it is. Hyfried drops the bombshell. That ring is the proof of the next head. He's officially making Aster his heir right now. Aster is absolutely floored. His eyes are wide as his dad tells him straight up that he wants him to succeed the Viscount house. Hyfried doesn't sugarcoat it. He explains that they're in a precarious position and they need a strong successor to keep the house from falling apart. Looking out over their territory at sunset, Hyfried says that, like it or not, they're a branch family carrying the Elmheim name and they have people to protect. He says they can't leave the seat of the next head empty forever, especially with the shadows of the main family always looming over them. Aster looks worried and asks if his sisters are actually okay with this. He knows choosing an adopted son over biological daughters is going to cause some drama. Hyfried sighs and admits he'll tell everyone properly soon. He knows it's going to be a tough sell for the rest of the family. Aster thinks about his other sisters, Marfa and Kudo. He knows they aren't going to be happy about this at all. He awkwardly laughs, thinking that they'd hardly be thrilled. He especially worries about Sister Kudo, who is known for being intense. Hyfried admits that Kudo hates Aster just for being born a boy, despite how lucky he is to have the 7 wings. Talk about family issues. Aster grips his knees, looking down. He flat out tells his dad he can't accept this. He's not ready for the weight of the crown yet. In his head, he's beating himself up. He can't even control his magic and nearly killed Alphen before. He feels way too immature for this kind of responsibility. The room falls quiet as the two of them sit in the late afternoon sun. Hyfried knows that no amount of logic can convince an angry sister. He looks at Aster with a soft smile and tells him that he's always doubted whether the kid is actually just a child. Aster is just way too mature for his age. Aster stands up, but Hyfried isn't done yet. He's got one more thing to show him. Hyfried reaches for a long wooden box. He says he thought the ring was a good reward, but it seems Aster might prefer this instead. He sets the box on the desk and Aster leans in, his curiosity finally getting the better of him. What could be better than a lordship? Aster's golden eyes go wide with total shock. Whatever is in that box, it's clearly something he never expected to see. It's the magic sword Graham. This legendary magic-devouring blade is the only thing that can actually control the power of the 7 wings. Aster just got the ultimate power-up. Hyfried leads Aster deep into the woods, finding a secluded spot far from prying eyes. He looks around and decides this quiet area is perfect for what he's about to show him. Aster is a bit confused and asks why they couldn't just do this in the training hall. Hyfried stays serious, explaining that taking precautions out here is absolutely necessary. Hyfried reminds Aster that he tends to break things way too often during his sessions. We see a quick flashback of Aster standing awkwardly in front of a giant hole he blasted through a stone wall. Hyfried holds out a peculiar-looking hilt and introduces it as the magic sword, Graham. It's a legendary blade passed down only to the eldest son of the main family, but he brought it here just for Aster. The Viscount reaches for the hilt, ready to demonstrate its power. Aster watches closely as his father prepares to activate the weapon. Aster's jaw drops as he gets a good look at the hilt. He's completely baffled because there's something very obvious missing. Hyfried confirms the kid's suspicion. The sword literally has no blade. It looks like just a fancy handle with some glowing red gems. Suddenly, High-Fried channels his red mana into the hilt, and a massive pillar of light erupts into the sky. Aster is nearly blown back by the sheer pressure. A jagged, crimson blade made of pure energy manifests from the hilt. High-Fried explains that it's a blade of potential that takes shape based on the wielder's own magic. With one powerful horizontal swing, High-Fried unleashes a devastating wave of red energy. The force of the strike is absolutely insane, tearing through everything in its path. The shock wave carves a massive circular path through the forest, flattening trees like they're nothing. It's a total display of top-tier martial power. High-Fried powers down the blade, looking pretty drained as he warns Aster that it can completely exhaust someone with mediocre magic. He catches his breath and asks the kid if he wants to give it a try. Aster steps up, looking determined as he reaches for the legendary hilt. He's ready to see what his Seven Wings power can do with a real catalyst. The kid grips the hilt with both hands, bracing himself for the surge. You can tell he's nervous but excited to test his limits. Aster starts pouring his golden mana into the sword, and the reaction is instantaneous. A swirling vortex of golden energy begins to gather around him as he focuses his intent. Aster is struggling to hold on as the hilt begins to pull mana from him on its own. A massive burst of golden light explodes from the hilt, dwarfing the display his father just put on. A giant beam of golden light shoots straight into the clouds, visible for miles. Some soldiers nearby stop what they're doing, staring up at the sky in total disbelief. The guards are freaking out, wondering if a comet just crashed into the forest or something. One of them shouts that it's the opposite. The light flew up from the ground into the sky. The soldiers keep arguing about what that light could possibly be. Alphen stands nearby, watching the horizon with a very knowing look on her face. Alphen looks toward the distant forest and sighs, realizing it must be Aster causing all that chaos. She's getting used to her brother doing the impossible. Back in the clearing, Aster is kneeling on the ground, completely spent but still holding the hilt. High-Fried stands over him, admitting that it really is an extraordinary sword. High-Fried looks down at his adopted son with a mix of awe and concern. He tells Aster that while the sword is great, the truly extraordinary thing is Aster's own power. We see a vision of a swirling blue and light vortex in the sky, representing the untapped potential Aster carries. High-Fried is realizing just how much of a game-changer this kid is. We get a close-up on Aster's golden eye as he catches his breath. High-Fried notes that there's never been a single person with the Seven Wings crest in their entire family lineage. High-Fried turns his back to the kid, looking out into the trees as he predicts Aster will become a swordsman who surpasses him and even Lord Rodrik. He knows he's raising a legend. A vision of the adult Aster facing off against the terrifying Rodrik flashes across the screen. High-Fried knows Aster's destiny is to eventually confront that man. High-Fried grips the hilt of his own sword, warning that power this great always sows the seeds of conflict. He tells Aster that if the world finds out he has 7 wings, everything will change. We see Aster from behind as golden wings of light begin to manifest on his back. High-Fried warns him that everyone will either envy him or try to resent him for having such a gift. A dark vision shows giant, shadowy hands reaching out for the young Aster. High-Fried explains that some will definitely plot to exploit his power for their own gain. A hand holding a jagged dagger looms in the shadows. High-Fried doesn't sugarcoat it. Others will surely try to eliminate Aster just to get rid of a potential nuisance. High-Fried reaches out a hand to Aster, his expression softening but still serious. He wants to make sure the kid is strong enough so he won't have to regret being powerless later. He encourages Aster to become strong while he still can. High-Fried is doing everything he can to prepare the boy for the inevitable storm heading their way. Aster reaches up and takes his father's hand, his face full of determination. He thinks to himself that he will never live a miserable life like he did in his previous one. Standing tall, Aster thanks his father and vows that he will definitely master both the 7 wings and this magic sword. He's fully committed to his path now. Fast forward 3 days later, and we're back at the estate. High-Fried and the family are standing at the entrance, welcoming home 2 more members of the house. 2 women walk into the hall, and the red-headed one shouts that the unworthy Kudryavka has returned. This is Sister Kudo, and she looks like she's got a lot of energy. We get a close-up of Kudo's face as she smirks. She looks like she's ready to start some trouble. Kudo throws her arms wide with a huge grin, calling out to her lovely little sisters. She's demanding a big reunion hug from all of them. The younger sisters completely ignore Kudo and tackle the white-haired sister Malfa instead. Kudo is just standing there with her arms open and a look of confusion on her face. Kudo is left standing all alone in the middle of the room, looking totally dejected. She's wondering what about a hug for Sister Kudo. The sisters cling to Malfa, telling Kudo that they won't hug her because she always immediately messes up their hair. Talk about a brutal rejection. Kudo crosses her arms and pouts, trying to act all dignified. She claims she's a master of chivalry and would never behave so immodestly, but she clearly just wants some attention. Kudo turns her attention to Alphen, who is standing nearby looking a little nervous. She calls out to her with a mischievous grin. Kudo lunges forward and sweeps Alphen into a massive, suffocating hug. Poor Alphen is totally caught off guard as Kudo asks if she's been a good girl. Kudo is rubbing her face against Alphen's like a giant puppy. Alphen is struggling to get away, yelling at her and asking why she's coming over here. Sister Malfa looks around the room and asks the obvious question, where's Aster? She hasn't seen the new member of the family yet. Highfried and his wife explain that Aster is out training. Kudo stops her glomping for a second and looks curious about this brother she's heard so much about. We see a close-up on Kudo's face as she looks away. You can tell she's already planning something to test out the new guy. Back in the forest, a massive pillar of red and black magic erupts from the ground. Aster is clearly pushing himself way too hard in his solo practice. Aster is a blur of motion in the middle of a magical storm. He's huffing and puffing, trying desperately to maintain control of the energy. We see a close-up of Aster's face, dripping with sweat as he grits his teeth. He curses his luck, realizing that he's still not where he needs to be. Aster is holding the glowing magic sword, his eyes wide with effort. He thinks to himself that while he can create the sword, just keeping it under control is putting him at his absolute limit. Aster stands in the middle of a crater he just made, looking at his hands. He's desperately wondering what he needs to do to become strong like his father. Suddenly, a voice calls out from the shadows, saying he's really outdone himself this time. Aster looks over his shoulder and sees Kudo standing there watching him. Aster turns all the way around, surprised to see her. He asks if Sister Kudo was back already. Kudo gives him a sly, almost menacing smirk. She tells him it's a bit cold that he didn't even bother to show up and welcome his own sister back. She walks closer, asking if he thinks he's too special to notice her now. Kudo is definitely trying to provoke a reaction from him. Aster looks at her seriously and admits that even as a trainee, he heard she's been active in numerous missions. He's clearly been doing his homework on his new family. We get a close-up of the honorary knight medal pinned to Kudo's jacket. Aster notes that she was the only knight awarded that prestigious medal this year. Aster grips his sword hilt and tells her that if he couldn't even notice her, he'd never be able to succeed their father. Kudo stops smirking for a second, looking genuinely surprised by his answer. Kudo's expression turns intense as she asks if he turned down the offer to be successor just for her sake. She wants to know if he's being selfless or just insulting her. Aster looks away, sweating as he realizes his father probably talked too much. He thinks to himself that Highfried went and caused a lot of unnecessary trouble by telling her that. We get a close-up on Kudo's mouth as she speaks. Aster tells her honestly that he just didn't think he was worthy of the position yet. Kudo walks past him, muttering that both Aster and their father are being spiteful by showing her what her dream looks like. She's clearly frustrated by her own position. Aster suddenly senses a massive spike in danger and looks over his shoulder with a terrified expression. Kudo pulls her massive sword and slices through a giant tree in one smooth, blue-tinted stroke. The air itself seems to crack under the force of her sling. The tree explodes into splinters as it falls. Aster barely scrambles out of the way, shouting and asking his sister what she's doing all of a sudden. Aster is in a defensive crouch as dust and debris fly everywhere. He's completely on edge, realizing his sister is no longer playing around. Kudo stands in the middle of the path she just cleared, her sword over her shoulder. She tells him it's been a while, so Big Sister will give him a little test. Kudo gives him a predatory grin and tells him that next, she's coming for real. She is 100% ready to throw down right here. Aster tries to reason with her, shouting for Sister Kudo to wait. He explains that his magic sword is still incomplete and he can't fight properly with it. Kudo doesn't want to hear it. She coldly asks him if he's going to make that same excuse when he's facing an actual enemy on a battlefield. Aster is stunned into silence, realizing she's right. He repeats the word enemy as it sinks in. Kudo tells him that the knight's code is to always be ready for battle, no matter what. She's teaching him a brutal lesson in reality. She dashes forward with incredible speed, her blade glowing with blue energy. Aster is barely keeping his magic sword stable as she closes the distance. Aster's red magic starts to flare up as he realizes he has no choice. He thinks to himself that if he doesn't fight back, his sister is seriously going to kill him. With a loud clash, Aster blocks Kudo's heavy strike with his magic sword. Blue and red sparks fly everywhere as the two siblings test their strength against each other. Aster is getting sent on a field trip through the forest. Literally, he's tumbling through the trees as the force of the latest exchange blows him backward. Kudo is lunging forward with her blade surging with blue energy, mocking the kid's progress. She's impressed he can keep up with her swordsmanship even after her training at the Knight Academy, but she's not done yet. Aster tries to steady himself, red magic beginning to flare from his hilt. Kudo just laughs it off, calling his flickering power a pathetic excuse for a sword. The gap is real as Aster skids across the grass while Kudo dominates the center of the clearing. She's pointing out the obvious. His magical control is completely non-existent right now. Aster is gasping for air, looking up with a mix of frustration and grit. He thinks to himself that Sister Kudo is just as relentless as he remembers. Kudo stands tall in the woods, looking like a total final boss. The narration confirms she's been this intense since they were toddlers. Flashback time. We see a tiny Kudo looming over an even tinier Aster with a wooden practice sword. Even back then, she was lording over him because he's the only male heir. Young Kudo was a living terror, constantly challenging him and calling every little thing unfair. It's no wonder he looks so stressed in these old memories. Back in the present, a massive impact rocks the clearing as their powers collide again. Aster realizes that, to put it bluntly, she is his natural enemy. We get a close-up on Aster's eye, and you can see the wheels turning. He's starting to realize that playing defense isn't going to cut it against her. A massive clash of blue and red energy erupts, sending shockwaves through the forest. Neither of them is giving an inch as they lock blades. Kudo gets right in his face, her eyes glowing with intensity. She shouts that he's not fit to be the next head of this house if he can't handle this. Meanwhile, back at the estate, Alphen is watching the sunset through a window. She looks worried sick about the chaos happening in the woods. She turns to her father, Highfried, and asks if it was really okay to leave those two alone. She's worried this sibling spat is going to end with a casualty. Highfried looks totally chill though. He calls them good rivals and thinks they're just being a bit reckless, nothing too serious. Famous last words, Dad. Alphen isn't buying it and just hopes he's right. She knows how intense Kudo can get once she starts a fight. They sit down for a serious talk, and Alphen asks if summoning the girls back was really just about the succession. She senses there's something bigger going on. Highfried reaches into a drawer with a grim look. He says no, and pulls out a letter that changes everything. Alphen's eyes go wide in total shock as she sees the seal on the envelope. This is clearly the news she was dreading. It's an official summons from the Elmheim main house. The elders who lead the core of the family have finally come calling. A dark vision shows the shadowy elders of the main family. Apparently, they've heard the rumors and want to see their grandson's face for themselves. Alphen clutches her hands together, realizing this is a major development. The main house getting involved is never a good thing. Highfried's expression is hard as stone. He knows that at worst, they might end up losing Aster to the main family schemes. Cut back to the woods where a massive explosion of light signals the fight is reaching its peak. Highfried's words about losing Aster hang heavy over the action. Aster is shouting back at Kudo, telling her not to be ridiculous. He's already turned down the succession once, and he's not about to let her goated comments get to him. Kudo swings her sword with enough force to create a vacuum, telling him that his refusal is disagreeable in its own right. She's taking this way too personally. With a loud clang, Aster blocks a heavy strike, but he's struggling under the sheer weight of her attack. He thinks that she's heavy as he tries to hold his ground. Aster compares her to a troll swinging a giant mallet. She's using pure brute strength combined with her blue mana to crush him. We get a close-up on Aster's hand gripping Graham, and you can see the red magic pulsing wildly. He's reaching his limit, just trying to keep the blade together. Kudo is leaning into the clash, her blue aura overwhelming Aster's flickering red flames. She's literally pushing him into the dirt. Aster is gritting his teeth, trying to get a word in. He's begging her to listen, but she's in full battle mode now. Kudo just gives him a predatory smirk and asks if he was just trying to run away. She's not letting him off the hook that easy. Boom. She delivers a massive, blue glowing strike that sends Aster flying backward. The shockwave alone is enough to crack the ground. Aster is skidding through the grass, coughing and clutching his chest. He wheezes about what brute strength she has. Kudo stands over him and starts the lecture. She tells him he's third-rate if he can only swing a sword. She keeps going, saying he's second-rate if he can only handle magic. She's setting a high bar for her little brother. A wide shot shows the destruction they've caused in the forest. She declares that you only become first-rate once you master both sword and magic together. She looks down at him with genuine disappointment. She expected way more from the kid who supposedly has 7 wings. We get a quick magic lesson. A 1-wing difference is a 3-fold power gap. That's a massive jump in magical output and stamina. She points out that as a 5-wing user, she should be 2 full stages inferior to his 7 wings. On paper, she shouldn't even be able to touch him. And yet, here he is, avoiding a direct clash of strength and fleeing back to basic swordsmanship. She calls him out for being a coward. She gives him a mocking smile and asks if he really distrusts his own power that much. She's hitting him right where it hurts. She asks the ultimate question. Is he afraid of going berserk again just like he did 3 years ago? That memory is clearly a sore spot for him. Aster's eyes go wide as the realization hits him like a truck. He wonders if he's afraid of the power of the 7 wings. He stands up slowly, realizing he was unconsciously putting a limit on his own potential. He was handicapping himself because of his own fear. He looks at the magic sword, Graham. He finally understands that the blade was unstable because he was trying to forcibly suppress his own magic. Kudo gets even angrier, shouting that Aster has everything she ever wanted. She's jealous of the gift he's wasting. She unleashes a massive blue energy blast, telling him that if he's going to be so arrogant as to let his talent rot, she'll just crush it. Kudo is not holding back anymore. She charges forward, enveloped in a massive whirlwind of blue energy, screaming at him to give it all to her. She wants to see his true power, and she's bringing everything she has. We get a tight close-up of Aster gripping the hilt of his magic sword in the shadows. Blue energy shards are flying past him as he braces for her ultimate attack. He's finally ready to stop suppressing his real strength. Boom. A massive, earth-shattering clash of blue and red energy lights up the panel. Aster is just a tiny silhouette standing his ground in the middle of that blinding red explosion, completely halting her momentum. Kudo looks absolutely shocked, her face illuminated by the fierce red glow of Aster's magic. She screams, unable to believe he knocked back her full-force strike. She can't believe he actually stopped her strongest attack in its tracks. Aster looks up with a terrifyingly confident grin, his golden eyes glowing intensely through the red aura. He tells her thank you because thanks to her, his eyes are now open. He's officially leveled up mentally and accepted his power. Aster launches himself through the air right at Kudo. Moving so fast, he's leaving a trail of smoke. Kudo looks up in total disbelief, thinking he's charging in without even manifesting a blade. She's totally caught off guard by his new speed and tactics. Kudo is sweating, wondering if she finally pushed him too far. She thinks that surely she hasn't run out of mana, but then she sees him. Aster is airborne, glowing with an unprecedented level of red magic. He's finally tapping into the power hidden within those 7 wings. He focuses every scrap of his magic into the exact moment of impact. The explosion of energy where their blades meet is blinding. Kudo is sent skidding back, a look of pure shock on her face. She can't believe he actually came up with a counter-strategy that fast. Aster stands in the smoke, his face set in stone. He thinks about how he has zero intention of wasting the second life he's been given. Check out Aster's back. A glowing red sigil of wings has manifested, surging with incredible power. He's finally claiming his strength, his sword, and his new family. He thinks about Highfried, Althen, and the rest of them. These are things he couldn't obtain in his previous life, no matter how hard he struggled. Kudo looks at him, totally baffled. She repeats the word second, not understanding the weight behind his words. Aster doesn't answer. He just disappears in a flash of red light. He's moving so fast, he's a literal blur of destruction. He's trailing red energy as he weaves around Kudo's defense. She can barely track his movements as he closes in for the final blow. Kudo is stunned, barely able to get out a sound as she realizes she's lost sight of him completely. She's looking around wildly, but Aster has vanished. It's like he turned into the wind itself. Suddenly, he appears right behind her, his golden eye glowing in the shadows. He whispers that there's no more holding back, and you just know it's over. And wham! He delivers a massive, red energy slash that lights up the entire forest. Aster just showed his big sister exactly what a first-rate warrior looks like. Sister Kudo finally wakes up in bed, looking totally dazed and confused. She's got that "where the heck am I" face that we all have on a Monday morning. She looks around her room, slowly realizing she's back in her own bed. She's wondering how the duel ended and how she even got back here in the first place. A voice tells her she's finally awake. Sister Malfa is right there by the bed, looking as calm and graceful as ever. Kudo looks up at her, still trying to shake off the sleep. Malfa is over by the window, opening the curtains to let in some light. She tells Kudo that she certainly took her time waking up, which is, Malfa, speak for you were out cold. Kudo bolts upright, frantically asking about her duel with Aster. She remembers being in the middle of a fight and then nothing. Everything is a total blur. Malfa gives her a sweet, knowing smile and drops the bombshell. Aster was the one who carried her all the way back here. We get a little flashback of the kid hauling his big sister home. Apparently, Aster's story is that Kudo just fell asleep right in the middle of their duel because she was tired from her journey. Malfa seems to buy it, but you can tell Kudo isn't convinced. Kudo sits there in silence, thinking to herself that can't be right. She knows she didn't just take a random nap in the middle of a battlefield. She has a flashback to that final moment of the duel. She was coming in for a massive strike, ready to end it, when everything shifted. In reality, Aster must have dispelled his mana blade a split second before impact. He didn't just dodge, he chose to deactivate his weapon to keep her safe. Kudo remembers the feeling of the lingering residue of his mana passing right through her body as he moved. The kid's control is becoming truly terrifying. She thinks about how Aster looked afterward, just a smiling little brother who wouldn't hurt a fly. She tells herself there's no way he'd actually kill his own sibling. But then she remembers that look in his eyes, that dark, predatory gaze. In that exact moment, she truly believed he was going to end her life. This kid is full of secrets. She gives a little smirk, calling him a spiteful little brother even if he is way smaller than her. She's clearly gained a whole new level of respect for him. Kudo isn't one to sit around. She's already out of bed and grabbing her sword hilt, demanding to know where Aster is right now. She's determined to have a rematch immediately, shouting that she won't accept a duel ending like that. This time, she's going all out from the very start. Malfa just looks at her calmly and tells her that Aster is already gone. Kudo freezes, the wind totally taken out of her sails. Kudo is in disbelief. Malfa reveals that a summons arrived for Aster from the main house. That's never good news in this family. Malfa explains that he left a little while ago with their father. Kudo is absolutely stunned that she was kept in the dark about something this huge. Check out that carriage speeding down the road. Aster and Highfried are already well on their way to face the music at the main estate. Aster is staring out the window, looking way too calm for someone about to meet the shadow rulers of his family. Highfried is sitting across from him, looking pretty grim. He explains that the people they're about to meet are the elders who support the Elmheim house from the shadows. We get a shot of the main estate, and man, does it look ominous. These elders are former heads and influential figures who have basically been pulling the strings for generations. Highfried lets out a heavy sigh. These guys haven't shown a shred of interest in Aster since he was adopted, so why the heck are they summoning him now of all times? Aster knows the answer. He says it's likely because of what happened at the Sword Dance Festival. He made too much noise, and now the big players are paying attention. He mentions that he's heard these elders value the family's prestige more than gold or even their own lives. They're literal dinosaurs when it comes to tradition. Ominous flashback alert. Aster mentions that those who tarnish that prestige are thrown into cages to become food for beasts. This family is absolutely messed up. Highfried looks at Aster, totally baffled, and asks where exactly he heard such horror stories. Aster just keeps it vague, not wanting to reveal his past life knowledge. He casually waves it off, saying he's already prepared himself for some form of punishment or even exile. He's remarkably chill about the possibility of being thrown to the wolves. Highfried asks if he's sure about this, leaving without even saying goodbye to his sisters. He knows the girls are going to be heartbroken. Aster says it's fine, as he was planning to depart as soon as they arrived anyway. He doesn't want to make a big deal out of it. He gives a little smirk, thinking that Kudo will probably prefer it when he's not around to annoy her anymore. Talk about a classic little brother move. Aster looks down at his hand on his sword hilt. He thinks to himself that thanks to Kudo, he's finally starting to get the hang of handling Graham. He feels like he can draw out more of the Seven Wings' power than ever before. He looks at Highfried and tells him not to try to help him, no matter what happens next. Highfried looks at his son and realizes he's serious. He can see that Aster is truly prepared to survive on his own. Highfried mocks him just a bit, telling him not to act so high and mighty when he's still the youngest. He's trying to keep things light, but you can feel the tension. Suddenly, Aster senses a presence and his eye widens in shock. Someone is outside the carriage. It's Sister Kudo. She's outside the carriage window, having run all the way from the estate. She looks absolutely exhausted but determined. The carriage stops, and Kudo is leaning over, gasping for air. Highfried is stunned, asking if she really ran all the way here. She hops right onto the carriage, calling it cruel of them to leave without saying a single word to her. She's fuming. She says she heard everything, that he was summoned by the great elders. Highfried tries to tell her he can't take her with them, but she's already sitting down. Kudo says she knows that, and that she's only here because their father called the sisters back to watch over things. She's just here for a proper goodbye. Her expression turns serious as she tells Aster that this summons means he's in a situation that requires a great deal of caution. She knows the danger he's in. We get another shot of that terrifying main estate. Kudo mentions that Malfa even said he might not come back at all. Aster just gives her a polite smile and tells her she's exaggerating. He claims he's just going there to talk. Sure, buddy, just a casual chat with the elders who eat people. Kudo points a finger right at his face and declares that she absolutely hates him. She's not pulling any punches here. She starts listing all her reasons. He's a boy, he has the 7 wings, and he always gets special treatment. She keeps going. He's stronger than her even though she's the older sister, and he acts like a grown-up even though he's the little brother. Aster just listens calmly to the rant. Then her voice softens as she says that even so, he is her precious family. Aw, she actually cares. She tells him that no matter how strong he gets, or how much like an adult he acts, he's still her little brother. Highfried is just sitting there, taking it all in. She tells him to make sure he comes back safely so they can duel again properly. This isn't just a goodbye, it's a promise. She gives a classic confident smirk, saying she won't let him get away with a win like that. She's ready for the rematch already. Kudo hops out of the moving carriage and lands perfectly on the road. What a boss. Aster looks out the window as she waves him off. Highfried chuckles, noting that she's a good rival for him. Aster gives a soft, genuine smile and thinks to himself, "Thank you, sister." He's finally feeling the support of his new family. The carriage heads off into the sunset toward the daunting main house. Aster vows that he'll definitely come back. The real battle starts now. Highfried and Aster arrive at the massive gates of the main estate, and the reception is anything but warm. The guards standing at attention welcome Highfried back, but you can feel the tension in the air. The guards aren't moving an inch, their spears held tight as they deliver the news. They tell the duo that the Great Elder is already inside and waiting specifically for them. Highfried tries to play it cool, saying he doesn't need a guide since he knows the place, but the guard isn't having it. He's got strict orders to ensure both of them are brought in together, basically treating them like prisoners. They're walking through the halls now, and the vibe is totally ominous with that deep red lighting. Aster realizes this isn't a family reunion. These people didn't call him here to play nice with their grandchild. Aster is keeping a straight face, but his golden eyes are sharp as ever. He's thinking that still, he's prepared himself for whatever trap these old men have set. As they approach the inner sanctum, Aster looks up at the massive, castle-like structure. He thinks about how being back here brings back memories, since it's been a long time since he was last home in his previous life. As they walk past a balcony where other trainees are practicing, Highfried gives Aster one last warning. He tells him to stay cool today, no matter what kind of insults get thrown his way. Aster looks a little stressed as he listens to his adoptive father. Highfried emphasizes that no matter what they say to him, he cannot lose his temper. Highfried looks pretty exhausted just thinking about this meeting. He tells Aster that the people they're about to see, they, are the real problem here. Aster looks over as Highfried starts to explain who exactly the Great Elder is. He senses a shift in the atmosphere as they get closer to the throne room. Aster notices that Dallas is nowhere to be found among the other nobles. He correctly guesses that after having his dominant hand crushed, Dallas is probably hiding away in shame. Highfried notices Aster is distracted and asks if he's even listening. Aster quickly snaps back to reality and gives a polite confirmation. The two of them continue their walk through the grand arches, flanked by silent guards. The long walk is clearly designed to be intimidating. Aster follows along, thinking to himself that he'll be as quiet as a mouse today. He's actually taking Kudo's warning seriously about coming back in one piece. They reach the massive double doors, and a creepy laugh echoes from the other side. Someone is clearly enjoying the drama. The doors swing open to a massive audience hall. A voice bellows out that Lord Highfried and both of his sons have arrived. It's a long walk down the red carpet toward the high chairs at the end. The room is filled with powerful figures watching Aster's every move. An old man with a long white beard and a massive scar on his head calls out to Highfried. He addresses him as his grandson, which confirms his identity. Highfried drops to one knee immediately, showing total respect. He greets the old man as the sixth head and notes it's been a long time. Highfried whispers to Aster that this man is his great-grandfather. The weight of the family history is literally sitting on that throne. Check out the look on this old man's face. He looks like a total nightmare. He's Dennis A. Elmheim, the sixth head, and he radiates pure, terrifying authority. Aster looks around the room and spots Alphen's sister, Malfa, and the blue-haired noble from before. He realizes all the heavyweights of the family have gathered for this judgment. Aster speaks up, asking the obvious question, is Rodrik not here? He's looking for the man who actually ruined his life. The old man confirms that the current head is not present. He looks down at Aster with a condescending gaze. A terrifying purple and red aura flares up around the sixth head. He explains that Rodrik is busy leading the knights directly under the royal family. He claims Rodrik has no time for such trivialities, meaning Aster isn't even worth the Duke's attention. He says the old soldiers are handling things instead. Aster stays calm, but he's thinking to himself that in his past life, he never even got the chance to see this man. He was considered too low status back then to even be in the same room. Aster observes the old man, thinking that for a retired guy, he still clearly wields a massive amount of influence over the family. Highfried looks up with a worried expression and asks what exactly these trivialities are. He knows there's an ulterior motive here. The old man gives a sinister little laugh and says, surely Highfried has figured it out by now. He brings up the scene Aster caused at the sword dance festival. Aster's golden eyes narrow as he realizes this is about the duel. These elders are livid that a branch family member embarrassed the main house. Highfried tries to defend his son, claiming the duel was nothing more than a performance for the public. He's desperately trying to downplay the incident. Another elder with a mustache and a purple aura starts shouting. He screams that regardless of the reason, the Elmheim name has been tarnished by Aster's actions. The sixth head continues the verbal assault, saying that inviting a child of unknown origin into the family was a mistake from the start. He's already talking about exile or worse. Aster finally snaps. He stands up from his kneeling position and shouts for them to wait. He tells them that his father has nothing to do with this. He stands tall and declares that he is the one who did everything. Highfried is staring at him in total shock, probably wishing the kid had stayed quiet. Highfried bows his head in silence. He's caught between his loyalty to the house and his love for the boy he raised. The sixth head looks at Aster with pure disdain. He tells the boy that it seems his discipline is still lacking. He mocks Aster for being a child trying to butt into an adult conversation. The arrogance in this room is just insane. The old man starts talking about the 12,000 knights under their banner. He says they carry the entire weight of the Elmheim name on their shoulders. He warns Aster that the knights are not a monolith. There are countless others watching from the shadows, just waiting for a chance to snatch the top seat. He looks around at the other nobles, including Malfa and the blue-haired guy, noting that even those in this very room are potential threats to their power. He slams his cane down and says they simply want peace of mind. He says they need proof that Aster won't cause any more harm to the Elmheim name. Highfried's eyes go wide as he realizes something terrible is coming. The old man is reaching for something. The Great Elder holds out a sword hilt glowing with a menacing red light. He asks Highfried if he remembers the time he failed to protect the Lord and had his arm tarnished. He looks down at Highfried, who is still kneeling, and tells him it's time to settle the score. He wants Highfried to prove his loyalty right here, right now. The bombshell drops. The Great Elder commands Highfried to show his loyalty by taking that boy's head. He's literally ordering a father to execute his son. We get a close-up on Aster's golden eye. He's absolutely stunned. He knew they were jerks, but he didn't think they'd go this far. High-Fried doesn't even hesitate. He stares his grandfather right in the eye and firmly refuses. Big mistake, old man. High-Fried declares that he would rather take his own life than cut down his own child. Aster looks at his father with a look of pure realization and gratitude. The Great Elder just gives a cold response. He sees and says very well. He's clearly done with the conversation. He slams his cane into the floor once more. That sound usually means someone is about to die. He shouts that they can die and tells High-Fried that his wife, his daughters, and the boy will all be executed alongside him. These guys are total monsters. Suddenly, the guards in the room draw their swords and surround the two of them. The Great Elder declares that as of today, the Viscount's house ceases to exist. Aster finally speaks up, his voice cold as ice. He asks what his great-grandfather is so afraid of. He's not backing down. The old man looks confused as Aster continues, calling the group of grown men huddled together and trembling absolutely pathetic. Aster stands in the middle of the guards, telling the elders to feel free to exile him or cull him as they please if they're so scared of him. Aster grips his collar, his aura beginning to flare. He warns them that if they dare to lay a finger on his family, they're going to regret it. Ripping his shirt open, Aster apologizes to High-Fried for not being very good at staying quiet after all. He's done hiding. One of the guards is shaking with fear, stuttering about what that is as he looks at Aster's back. A close-up of the crest shows the 7 wings glowing with an intense, fiery red light. It's the ultimate symbol of power in this world. Aster is wreathed in a massive, swirling tornado of red energy. He warns them that if this continues, these 7 wings will become the greatest enemies the Elmheim family has ever known. Aster looks back with a terrifying, glowing yellow eye. He tells the elders they would do well to think carefully about their next move. This kid is officially the baddest dude in the room. The elders are absolutely losing their minds right now. Seeing that 7 Wings emblem on Aster's back has them questioning reality, with one of them literally whispering that it's impossible. This mustache noble is sweating bullets, demanding to know if the crest is just some high-quality fake. He mentions that it's been hundreds of years since that mark has actually appeared on a human body. The blonde elder looks like he's about to have a heart attack. He admits that even after all this time, that crest is unmistakably the real deal. Dennis, the Great Elder, is gritting his teeth so hard they might shatter. He calls Aster a brat and asks if the kid even understands the weight of what he's showing them. Aster is just standing there with his back to them, letting the crest do all the talking. Dennis is practically vibrating with rage, asking again if he understands the consequences of this reveal. Aster looks back with a total, I know what I'm doing smirk and just says yeah. He casually points out that the more wings someone has, the more people tend to freak out. And then we have this blue-haired noble just laughing his head off. He finds the whole 7 Wings reveal absolutely hilarious while everyone else is terrified. The mustache noble is not amused by the laughing, but the blue-haired guy just waves him off. The atmosphere in this room is getting weirder by the second. Dennis goes into a history lesson, explaining that wing emblems were originally organs for generating magic power that spirits shared with humans. He's looking pretty intense while explaining the family lore. We get a stylized vision of how that power has been passed down through generations. Dennis explains that status is everything because of this divine bloodline. Aster looks skeptical, asking if Dennis is basically saying he belongs to some ancient spirit clan. He's not really buying the mystical origin story. Dennis goes silent for a second, just staring Aster down. He admits that if those 7 Wings are the real thing, then Aster might actually be a direct descendant of that lineage. High-Fried is standing right next to Aster, looking like a proud but worried dad. Aster declares that he is a child of the Viscount house, regardless of what his skin says. Aster steps forward, crushing his discarded shirt under his boot. He tells the elders that his birth doesn't matter anymore. What matters is the question he's about to ask them. Aster stands surrounded by spears, looking like the baddest 10-year-old in history. He asks if they actually have the resolve to make a permanent enemy out of him. We see the crests of other noble houses as Aster drops a truth bomb. He warns them that if they kick him out, plenty of other martial nobility would be thrilled to welcome a 7 Wings user into their ranks. We get a close-up on that golden eye. Aster tells them they should actually be trying to keep him close, especially if he ends up surpassing Duke Rodrik. The elders are sweating now. They realize that a 7 Wings user acting as a signboard for their rivals would be a total disaster. Aster paints a grim picture of the future, a massive civil war that swallows the entire country. He tells them he's seen a future like that before, which is a nice little nod to his past life. Aster stands in the middle of the audience hall, his glowing red crest visible from behind. He tells them he wants to use this meeting to figure out exactly who is his ally and who is his enemy. Dennis starts laughing like a cartoon villain. He asks Aster if the kid really thinks he has enough worth to be making demands of the main house. Aster gives him a chilling smile. He tells Dennis that if he thinks he doesn't have the worth, he should just kill him right now. If not, then get ready for a war between them. Dennis is gritting his teeth, his hand clenching into a fist. He knows that killing a kid is easy, but if Aster is telling the truth, the Elmheim family is in big trouble. Check out that close-up of Dennis's hand. It's actually trembling. The retired head is feeling the pressure from a kid who hasn't even reached puberty yet. The blue-haired noble notes that the conversation is just going in circles at this point. He's ready to spice things up. The blue-haired guy, Count Maze, leans in with a creepy grin. He suggests that since words aren't working, maybe they should impose a trial on Aster to prove his worth. Count Maze stands up, acting all theatrical. He says everyone in the room is secretly dying to see what the power of the Seven Wings can actually do. He gives a sinister look, saying it won't be too late to decide Aster's treatment after the trial is over. This guy definitely has an agenda. Count Maze mocks the Elmheim mansion, asking if the world's renowned martial clan actually has a trial suitable for someone with this much power. Aster stares at Maze, recognizing the name. He knows there's no mistake. This man is a major player he needs to watch out for. Dennis finally agrees, saying very well. He stands up, looking like he's ready to get this over with. Dennis tells Aster to follow him. He's taking the kid somewhere special to see if he can actually walk the walk. The Great Elder walks past Aster, telling him that teaching a grandson how to speak properly is part of his duty as an old man. He's still trying to exert dominance. They arrive at the trial grounds, and man, it is spooky down here. It's a massive underground chamber with heavy chains and zero natural light. Dennis explains that this place is an underground bunker connected to the waterways. It looks more like a dungeon than a bunker if you asked me. The Elder reveals the catch. They keep a single, massive magic beast down here. Aster's trial is simple: defeat the beast or die. Highfried looks at Aster and calls him a troublesome fellow. He's clearly exhausted by his son's habit of jumping into life-or-death situations. Aster grabs his magic sword hilt, looking totally unfazed. He knows he couldn't keep the Seven Wings a secret forever, so this is as good a time as any to show off. Highfried tells him to stay sharp and not let his guard down. He's a worried dad, through and through. Aster hops onto a descending chain and says he's off. Talk about having zero fear of heights or giant monsters. Count Maze watches from above with a dark smirk. He's clearly hoping for something interesting to happen down in that pit. Aster's boots splash down into some shallow water at the bottom. He notes that it's just as dark and creepy as he expected. He stands in the gloom, his eyes glowing with that golden light. He says it's dark, but not dark enough to hide what's coming. Aster looks up at the distant opening above him. Dennis shouts down that he even gave him a chance to clear his name, but it didn't end well. We see a figure huddled in the darkness. It's Dallas. He looks completely broken, shivering and covered in dirt. Dennis says the kid just cried and screamed until it was unbearable to watch. A massive, shadowy form looms behind the broken Dallas. Aster draws his sword hilt, sensing the beast is right there in the room with them. Boom. A giant, blue, gorilla-like beast with glowing red eyes leaps out of the shadows. It looks absolutely feral and ready to rip someone apart. Aster stands his ground against the massive monster. The narration says, "Now then, let the trial begin. This is going to be epic." The giant blue beast looms over Aster, but the kid doesn't even look scared. He's staring it down in the middle of that dark underground chamber, looking for an opening. The monster lets out a terrifying roar, its red eyes glowing with pure rage. Aster is just a tiny silhouette compared to this thing, but he's holding his ground while the beast prepares to lunge. Aster starts moving like a blur, dodging the beast's massive claws as it tries to flatten him. He's weaving through the attacks with insane agility, making the monster swing at thin air. Up on the balcony, the guards and nobles are watching the show with their jaws on the floor. One of them lets out a shocked sound as they realize the kid is actually keeping up with the creature. Aster has a serious look on his face, gripping his sword hilt tight. He thinks to himself that compared to his sister Kudo, this giant monster is actually pretty chill. Purple smoke and aura start rising from the beast as it recovers from the first exchange. Aster watches closely, realizing that something about this creature is definitely not normal. Aster's eye widens as the realization hits him like a truck. He thinks, no way, this guy, breaking into a cold sweat as the pressure in the room shifts. The beast is wreathed in a sinister purple flame, looking more monstrous than before. Aster confirms the horrifying truth. This thing isn't just a beast, it's actually an undead. Highfried is losing his cool on the balcony, slamming his hands down and shouting about it being an undead. He demands to know why a creature that dangerous is being kept in the manor's basement. Dennis, the Great Elder, looks totally unfazed by Highfried's anger. He calmly explains that the creature is naturally drawn to the scent of death, which is why it's down there. We see the beast snarling through the bars as Dennis continues his explanation. He mentions it came crawling out into the basement looking for food, and he just decided to keep it as a convenient trial. Dennis gives a cold, shadowy look, saying the beast is actually quite useful for the family. Apparently, it means they no longer have any trouble disposing of corpses. The mustached noble is sweating bullets, noting that an undead is a handful even for elite knights to capture. He asks if Dennis is really just going to stand there and watch a child of the Seven Wings die. Dennis doesn't care at all, saying that if Aster dies, it just means he was nothing more than a blowhard. In his mind, a wing crest without power is worth less than a mere decoration. Aster looks up at the distant ceiling, silhouetted by the light from above. Dennis thinks to himself that even if the boy dies, there are other ways to get what the family needs. Dennis and the mustache noble exchange looks, with Dennis giving a sinister hint about the situation. He suggests that Aster's death might actually be more convenient for their long-term plans. Count Maze lets out a creepy little laugh while staring through the bars with those glowing blue eyes. He's just here for the carnage and seems to be enjoying the tension. Count Maze looks down with a cold, bored expression. He mocks Aster, thinking the kid talked a big game but is about to be turned into a meal for the undead. Aster is dodging a barrage of pink and blue energy slashes from the beast. He's telling himself to stay focused and not go dying so easily after everything he's been through. Aster weaves between the monster's limbs, noting that his slashes aren't doing anything. No matter how much he cuts it, there's just no feedback, like he's hitting a cloud of smoke. The beast's wounds are closing instantly, glowing with a purple light. Aster realizes its regenerative power is phenomenal compared to any normal undead he's ever seen. Aster looks at the beast, remembering the basics of fighting the supernatural. To begin with, you can't kill an undead normally because it's technically already dead. He thinks through the standard protocols. You either burn them to death with sunlight or purify them with a holy weapon. A vision of burning skeletons shows just how specific the requirements are. Aster is trapped between the beast and the stone wall. He knows that if you can't do either of those, then not engaging is the common sense approach to fighting undead. But of course, our protagonist knows there's no path for retreat here. He stares at the beast with those glowing golden eyes, knowing he has to find a third option to survive. Aster grips his hilt, deciding that superficial methods won't work. He declares that there's no meaning to being a Seven Wings if he can't use that power to prove his worth right now. He lunges forward, wreathed in a massive explosion of red and pink magic. He's going to try and crush the thing with sheer, overwhelming force to show them what he's made of. Aster lands a massive blow, creating a giant crater and a cloud of dust. The impact is so strong, it sends shockwaves through the floor and sends debris flying everywhere. Up top, the mustache noble is nearly blown off his feet by the pressure. He's screaming in terror, wondering what that incredible magic power coming from below even is. High-Fried and the guards are clinging to the bars, shouting and asking if he defeated it. They're desperate to know if that insane explosion actually finished the monster. Dennis, the Great Elder, looks down into the smoke with a curious expression. He's finally starting to show a tiny bit of interest in what Aster is capable of. As the smoke starts to clear, Aster is still standing there in the middle of the pit. He looks frustrated, and the battle definitely isn't over as the monster's aura lingers. Dennis gives a cold, disappointed look from the shadows. He mutters what a pity, implying that he thinks Aster failed to put the beast down for good. Aster is a blur of motion as he narrowly dodges another massive claw swipe. The beast is faster than it looks, and Aster is struggling to stay out of range. He's gasping for air, looking exhausted as he skids across the floor. He lets out a pained groan. He's really being pushed to his physical limit by this undead tank. The beast looms out of the dust, looking completely uninjured despite that last blast. High-Fried screams Aster's name in total panic as the monster prepares to strike. High-Fried is clutching the bars, ready to jump in and save his son. He tells the elders that this is enough, and he's going down there right now. Count Maze stops him, telling him not to do something as Gauche is trying to save him. He looks High-Fried right in the eye with a calm, condescending smirk. High-Fried is absolutely fuming, shouting at the Count and asking if he's telling him to just stand by and watch him die. He's losing his patience with the Count's arrogance. Count Maze just tells High-Fried to calm down and look. He's got that creepy, knowing face that says he's seeing something the others are missing. Maze points back at the pit, saying, "It seems Aster still has a trump card up his sleeve." He's looking at the boy with a predatory curiosity. Aster is actually smiling now. He looks up with a confident smirk, thinking that he's glad his new ability is working properly when it matters most. Aster stands his ground as the beast charges, noting that its movements have gotten quite a bit slower than before. He's finally seen through the monster's patterns. Aster's magic sword explodes with a new, intense red light that pulses with power. He's pouring everything he has into the blade for one final push. He delivers a massive upward slash, carving right through the monster's chest with a trail of energy. This time, the attack is shredding the creature's very essence. Aster screams out as he continues the relentless onslaught, telling the beast he'll just keep doing the same thing until it stays dead. He is wreathed in a literal firestorm of rage. Aster is a whirlwind of destruction, his slashes creating a vortex of red energy that fills the entire chamber. He's not giving the undead a single second to attempt to regenerate. High-Fried watches in awe, realizing that while he's seen Aster's power before, this is something totally different. He looks genuinely shocked by the sheer intensity of the boy's magic. Chains are snapping, and stone is flying everywhere as Aster's power spirals upward. The pressure in the room is getting insane, threatening to tear the dungeon apart. The nobles on the balcony are panicking, shouting that the whole place is going to collapse. They're finally realizing that they've underestimated the kid's potential. The Great Elder watches from his high platform as the dust and magic rise up toward them. Dennis looks like he's finally witnessing something that can actually challenge his authority. The Great Elder stares down into the crimson light, his eyes wide as he realizes the sheer scale of the power. He mutters that this is it, in total disbelief. Aster stands at the center of the storm, wreathed in a massive pillar of red magic that cracks the ceiling. The text confirms what everyone is seeing. This is the true power of the Seven Wings.